mentioned your wife earlier, and one of the blessings that you read about in the Bible is about the blessings of a good woman in a man's life. Proverb talks about it. Unfortunately, in today's world, I see a lot of childish content creators who are trying to discourage men from marriage, from fatherhood. And these are some of the tenets that you strongly believe in, I believe in as well. So for some of these men who feel like marriage and fatherhood is pointless and not beneficial to a man's life, what would you say to individuals like that from your experience, from all the men you've mentored, from all the men that have mentored you, about the benefits of marriage and fatherhood in the lives of men?
Yeah, well, I'll state the facts, because I'm not going to state my emotions and feelings, right? Yes. So I'll state facts because we're all logical humans here. The highest group of suicide are single men 60 and above. They have the highest suicide rate. The reason for that is because they are alone. They are alone. And when they're alone, they have no life partner. Again, it goes back to what we said. We are tribe, we are community. And part of that community is to have a spouse who supports you, who loves you, who respects you, who just roots for you to go out and fight the saber-toothed tiger and come back like with the spoils of that, and to take care of the family and to be able to put a roof over your head. If you got a roof over your head, but you don't have anyone telling you, I love you for that, I respect you for that, thank you for doing that. I know what someone's thinking, well, I have a different girl every day that's telling me that. Cool, but when you're 60, when you're 50, and you're not as attractive, and you're not as jacked, and you're alone, and you're wondering, what is the best way to exit, if you get my drift, right? Was it all worth it? Absolutely not, man. Happiness and fulfillment is health, is money, it's family, those three things. If I have my health and I have money, but I don't have anyone to share it with, experiences, I'm not a happy person. Like, that's scientifically been proven. So if we know the science of happiness is health, financial security, and a family to be able to enjoy your health and financial security with, and I don't have that family, kids to be able to mentor, like, every person, again, wants to inspire. We talked about that. We want to inspire, we want to motivate, we want to educate. And you might say, well, I'll educate and motivate other people's kids. Cool. But there's something magical about taking your gene line, your genetics, and setting them up to win even bigger than you did. Like, I will mentor anybody who wants mentorship from me. But there's something magical about my son Andrew and my daughter Chloe that I will just die for, that I will just bleed for, that I will hemorrhage for. And you don't have that. If you don't have a wife, you don't have a child, you don't have the tools of legacy, and every man wants a legacy, and those two things are the foundation of legacy. Now, I will say that choosing the wrong spouse is the number one factor to a man's failure or success, is who they choose as a spouse. This is an irrefutable fact. 100%. The number two factor is impulse control. If a man can control his impulses and be able to focus on his work instead of, social media and vape pen and pornography and gambling and alcohol and food, impulse control. And the third highest indicator of success or failure is the thoughts that occupy your mind. So if you can marry a good woman, if you can control your impulses, and you can keep a positive mental attitude, you set yourself up to win. So
I love what you said about legacy. One of our core values in the standard is legacy. We actually, each year we have an award called the Life Changing Legacy Award. The man who's done the most work to improve his life, that would change his family legacy forever. I love everything that you said. And to me, my dad is such an amazing father. He's really blessed me a lot. He always would paste these motivational quotes on the refrigerator. And one of the quotes is like, all these different things that lead to a happy life. And the first sentence was, the most important decision a man will make is whom he marries. Because a woman can be your greatest blessing or your greatest burden.
Absolutely.
And so I think, unfortunately, what's happened in today's world is so many men, because negativity sells in today's society, the stories of the burdens are what consumes everyone's minds.
Right, because we all are excited. The news is filled with bad news.
Yes.
Right? We hear about whose house burnt down, who got robbed, who got mugged. Well, surely there was many children that were born healthy today.
Yeah.
Surely a firefighter saved a cat from a tree. How come we didn't hear about that?
Yeah.
Right? Because our reptilian mind is designed to latch onto negativity.
Yeah.
So surely there's great women out there who are the backbone of the men who are serving humanity.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about that. You hear about the gold digging bitches who are blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm not going to marry some gold digging bitch. No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But there's a good woman out there who's willing to just 10x. She will amplify your impact by blessing you.
That's so powerful. What you said about the news. My major is broadcast journalism in college, but I'm never going to be one of those people who did a major in college, thinks they're an expert. But one thing that we learned in college, I remember they were talking about how to stack a news story. The first thing you learn in college is if it bleeds, it leads, right? So obviously the pain points, like you said, reptilian brain wants to survive. So we don't care about, okay, which fruit is the most juiciest? No, which fruit is the most poisonous?
Right.
Survival, right? And so this news station in Minnesota said, you know what? The news is too negative. We want to share only positive news. We want to flip the cycle. Usually the cycle is, let's say there's 10 news stories. 9 negative, and the last one is a puppy story, right?
Yeah.
Let's flip it. 9 positive, and then that last one will be something negative you need to be aware of. Less than a year, went bankrupt.
Oof. That's unfortunate. That is the sad side of humanity, isn't it?
Exactly.
Breaks my heart.
So
Breaks
people,
my heart,
people
bro.
want, unfortunately, in today's world, they want the negativity. But you're right. There is good in this world, and my philosophy is, well, most people are unhealthy in today's society. That's the normal. Overweight, obese, high blood pressure, diabetes. Most people are unhealthy. Do you want to be most people, or you want to be the exception?
Bingo.
Most people are struggling financially, living paycheck to paycheck, eyes deep in debt. Do you want to be most people, or do you want to be the exception? And so, same with marriage. You can say whatever you want about whatever numbers that you personally believe is true, but do you want to be the exception, or do you want to be the rule?
Right.
As a man who is the exception and you've been blessed with an amazing marriage, what are some of the things that a young man should look for in a woman, a young man who wants to, be a man of integrity, value, and leave a legacy?
Sure.
What are some things that this young man should look for in order to have a healthy long-term marriage?
Sure. Well, first off, this young man should have a solid set of core values. Like I knew, moving to America, I spent a lot of my time in apartments by myself. My mom and dad, everybody was working. Older brother, older sister, everyone's working. So I knew that I never wanted my kids to raise themselves, and I never wanted them to see the inside of a daycare. So I have a lot of core values, but where a wife is concerned, those two were strong core values. That I wanted a wife who would raise my kids instead of letting the school system or daycare raise my kids, or a babysitter, right?
Yeah.
And then that my kids would never have to see the inside of a daycare. And that doesn't mean, that means your wife wouldn't have to have a job, because there's plenty of women who stay at home, but their kids are still inside of a daycare because I need the mental break for my kids. That's not the woman I want, bro. That's not the woman I want. Like, what are you doing? If I'm at work.
Now we're preaching now, baby.
Right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Eating bonbons, watching Oprah or whatever.
Soap
operas, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew what my core values were. And so I found a woman like that, and I was like, I don't want a woman who is going to be loud and obnoxious, who's going to be a heavy drinker, and who's going to want to twerk. And like, I knew what I was, look, I worked in gyms, bro, in Southern California. Lots of beautiful chicks. And when you see them, you start seeing, oh, she's attention hungry. Oh, she is not loyal. She showed up with this guy at 8 a.m. for a workout, but she showed up at 3 p.m. with that guy. Unless, I don't know what's happening, right? You start seeing what's happening though, bro.
Yeah.
And so when you have core values, then you begin to go use that as a filter to find the right woman. If you don't have core values, then you don't have, everything is negotiable. You're like, she's hot, so I want her. But she's also crazy. She's also disloyal. She also can't be trusted. She is also insecure. So I wanted a secure woman. I said I want a woman who's got an athletic background, because I consider myself an athlete now. Ever since I started losing weight, getting fit, I treat myself like an athlete. I want a woman with an athletic background, because as I got athletic, my confidence went up, my self-worth went up. I want a woman with high self-worth, high confidence. So I got a woman who was a volleyball player, right? Who came from a small town in Washington State, who had the same core values as me, wanted to focus on raising our kids, which is probably the most important job in my family. The most important job is pouring into our kids. kids. Not what I do. Not the 200 million I make, bro. It's the $2 bazillion that she invests in our kids. Holy smokes.
This is good.
Right? And so when you don't have the core values and the non-negotiables, you're just going to go and attach your belly button to some hot chick who's going to end up being drama and as your dad said, be a burden instead of a blessing on you.